talk to them? What's their first reaction?
Vad sa du?
When they get ISIS hostages, what's their reaction? What's their first reaction?
Was our reaction or
No,
ISIS's
their reaction,
reaction?
the hostages.
Most of the hostages we take, because most of these men are fundamentalists, so they fight to the death. Most of them that we get are kids from the region. They're 16, 14. They gave them a gun and said, go here, fight these guys. So we took a number of kids, I'm going to call them kids because they were kids, and Tel Hamis when we went in. So it's more shock. They're scared because they think they're going to die and they don't want to die. That's why they gave themselves up. So they just get put in the back with the intelligence team. The intelligence team takes them on a truck and takes them away. Obviously, they don't want any of the other fighters doing anything to them. They're trained in doing this. They'll interrogate them for information. They'll give them medical aid, obviously. There's been many sources online showing us giving medical aid to ISIS fighters that we've taken captive. And then we take them to whatever jail that we have. We have over 300 ISIS fighters in prison right now. So they say that we kill everyone that we get, the propaganda that pro-regime and other sources, but the proof's in the pudding. We have jails full of ISIS fighters. So if they give themselves up and they want to live in peace, they can come. We'll feed them. We'll take care of them. So it's just a lot of shock. It's what you normally expect out of kids.
I don't know if you already have answered it. That is, what do you think about your government? You know, they're like turning a blind eye to it. As you said before, it's an Iraqi issue. For you being an American, what do you think about what your government?
My government is doing as an American. America is always going to look out for their interests. They don't care what happens to the people in the region if 1,000 die, 5,000 die, 10,000 die, because as long as America's interests are obtained and taken care of, they're going to look out for themselves. America got involved after the American people were upset because one reporter had his head cut off, was killed. And then the American people got very angry, and then Obama was like, all right, we'll get involved, I'll send planes over there, we'll bomb. And that's why we are involved now. Before that happened, ISIS came as far as getting on the door of Baghdad. What did he do about it? Nothing. So now the situation is, in Rojava especially, they're going to give us air support fighting against ISIS, but as far as stopping Turkey, they may try to put some pressure on them. But at the end of the day, Turkey has the second largest army in NATO, so why would they pick us over the second largest army in NATO, especially when they're right next to Iran? And a lot of this all has to do with Iran to begin with. So that's what this boils down to in all reality.
And the second question is, you know that we Kurds are grateful for your support, but what do the Americans think about the choices you made to join the Kurds in this fight?
A lot of Americans before Kobani, most Americans didn't even know what a Kurd was. So a lot of people are just figuring this situation out and learning about it. So of course we're getting a lot more support now as the situation unfolds and people are actually finding out what's going on. Before that, it was mostly military veterans from the United States who had served in Iraq for 10 years. Kurdistan in Iraq was the only place that did not constantly try to bomb Americans or kill Americans while we were there. So veterans had developed a great love for the Kurdish people. And that's why in Rojava right now there's so many American military veterans in both Rojava and Bashur. There's quite a few that have come over voluntarily just because of the way that we were treated, the way that we were there. We came into your country for 10 years and made ourselves the power, and then we left before Iraq even had an air force. So I think we're obligated to a degree to come to your aid because you were there for us. Now it's time for us to be there for you.
Thank you.
Syriac and Christian people, we have a lot of YPG, and previously they just handed down the person as hostages. You want to know if you know anything? Huh? If you know anything about them?
As for the hostages, I don't know. If they took hostages, they were either killed or they were brought back towards Raqqa. They weren't left on the front line, so we haven't been able to get them back yet. As for actual numbers of Assyrians, I don't know the actual numbers they range into, because we have MFS as well, which is a part of, basically it's a break off of YPG. They get all their weapons from YPG. They work with YPG, YPG. So most Assyrians go to MFS, but we still have Assyrians in YPG because they get a paycheck sometimes if they're regional fighters.
Selling a lot of oil and getting money for that. Who's the buyers? What's the order? Someone's buying that oil and paying.
Well, you have to look at where do they have sources to make exports. There's only one way to make an export. They have to go through Turkey. What happens is they use third-party sources. They'll take the oil from Mosul and surrounding areas, take it through Raqqa. I can't remember the name of the town on the Turkish border. It used to be Grisby they could go through as well, but we've taken that, or Talabia, we've taken that. So they have one town left that they're taking the oil around to. They take it to Turkey. They sell it for about a third of the price you would actually get on the market, and then third-party companies buy it in Turkey from them and then sell it through their own main distributors. As for the names of those main distributors, I haven't looked into enough to let you know that, but that's the routes they take to take the oil out to make a profit.
The differences, the ideological differences between the fighting groups in the resistance.
Yes.
So maybe if you could talk more about that, talk about MFS, and maybe if you could talk about the formation of the international brigades also. And then I've heard something about this Lion group. Lions.
It's that international brigade is pretty much, that's what that is.
Because I heard that Americans come, Swedes too, all kinds of people come, but they are not in for the Rojava course.
They're not there for the politics, they just come to fight ISIS.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that.
In Rojava itself, there is, I want to say, technically there's 5. You have the 3 groups from YPG, you have YPG, you have MFS, the Syriac Military Council, and you have the Sham tribe, which is the Northern Freedom Tribe, the Arab tribe in the area. Those 3 all work together in Rojava to fight against ISIS. And then you have the regime itself and the Assyrian militia attached to the regime in the area. Obviously, YPG is with the ideology of Abdullah Öcalan. The MFS is, I believe they're socialist. Their leader was their leader's father was the leader of the Assyrian Union Party. I don't know much about that background, but that's where they broke off of. They didn't join with Assad because their leader's father was killed by Assad years before, and so they have reason to oppose him, so they actually joined YPG. And then the El Sham tribe obviously is a tribe that doesn't agree with the ideology of ISIS, so they're the Arabs that believe you can live in peace together. So they have their own tribe militia, and we work with them as well. I don't know what their political ideology is though. Al Sham or Shammer, we call them Shammer. I don't know the long name, but we call them the Shammer tribe.
The formation of the international brigade.
Oh,
You were one of the first
we basically after I got wounded, we set up foreign recruitment, and a lot of people started coming over. We started getting a lot of requests. I'd say maybe 5% of the people actually that say they're coming come, but that's still hundreds of people. So we have people from Australia, New Zealand, Canada, America, Germany, France, Portugal, Spain, here in Gothenburg actually, just all over the place. We get put in an international unit because we all speak English. So it's easier in a combat situation if you can all understand each other. So they bunch us all up together. Most people, they just come over there to fight against ISIS. They're not really there for any political or ideological reasons.
And we want to say first welcome to you, and saying we are very proud of you, that your heart is like being for people and revolution in Rojava. We are very happy and very proud that you are fighting for Rojava. And his question is, after Tel Abyad, Grecipi is just Jarablus is calling between Tel Abyad and
Azan.
Canton Afrin. What is the plan for YPG to take in control of Jarablus? Because it's the last door in Syrian and Turkey door that ISIS taken help from Turkey. If you have any information.
Well, I don't want to go into super specifics because obviously OPSEC or operational security reasons, but if we decide to go across the border, if that's what we decide, there will be a very extensive bombing campaign by the coalition. And then there is south of Soran where we're fighting right now. ISIS has put around 200 approximated fighters in Soran, so they're trying to hold the line because the dam, I don't remember the name of the dam, but about I want to say 10 kilometers south or 15 kilometers south of Soran, there's a dam that is the dam for Raqqa. And if we take that, we could if we wanted to flood Raqqa, which we'll never do, but we control that, and that is they'll never blow that up because they'll flood their own city. So we can go across the dam to go to Jalabu. So most likely, and they know this too, this is very obvious tactics, we're going to push south and push across. So if and when we decide to make that move, it will be with 24/7 air support. When we went to Grisby and we went to Tel Hamis, we had 24/7 air support. There was always a plane in the sky. We always get C-130 gunships every night. So there will be an ample amount of, if anything moves on the ground, it will be shot. That's what happened in all the previous circumstances, and it will continue to happen that way if we're making advances. So that's one thing, the great thing that we're getting, especially from the French. The French has probably helped the most in that circumstance. ISIS is going to be in a pretty bad spot.
We are from America, and it's very different area in Rojava, in Syria, because you are coming from one country where it's like people believing and they're after going in practice, doing something. But in Syria, in Rojava, it's people, they don't have so much information, but they can kill people. So how it's feeling for you, how it's peace of this side you live in, it's difficult for you that you are in one area like this.
No, when you have to make a conscious decision before you do something like this and know why you're going in. You can't go in just to go in to say, oh, I want to fight against ISIS. You have to know in your heart and your mind why you're doing this and what could happen to you. You have to be going for the right reasons. You're not just going to fight. You're going for the people. You're going to protect people that otherwise normally wouldn't be protected because outside sources are unwilling to help them. Basically, for humanity's sake, you have to do it for. If you know that in your heart and your head's good with that, then yeah, it won't affect you. You know why you're going in. But if you're going in for the wrong reasons, just to fight, Rojava is a different world from here or from the West. It's a lot of just the basics, and it's a lot harsher lifestyle. And so eventually, a lot of people, it wears on them if they go for the wrong reasons and they just leave. So if you're going to do something like that, you have to go for the right reasons.
Thank you as a son of Rojava, and you're welcome your family here. And I want actually know, my question is not like ask questions, just like what you think about your opinion about why do America think that if Turkey, no, everyone know that Turkey is sending ISIS to Rojava. So, and why they just rating Turkey just like just speaking, not real anything to do. Just like we will take you out from NATO, and I think it should not be used for.
Unless Turkey directly tried to take over Syria, Turkey's never going to be kicked out of NATO. They're the second largest army in NATO. They're strategic in location, the fact that they're the bridge from Europe into the Middle East. So you have to look at the fact that we're a very small area and most Kurds don't even have their own country. So they're going to put a lot less weight in us than they are in an established nation that makes a lot of money and has the fifth largest army in the world. So we're always going to be the second choice, the latter. So why would they harm relations with one of their key allies in the area for someone that is not that strategically important to them? That's what this boils down to. Yes, it's wrong. It's humanely wrong, and I wish they changed that answer because it's not the right answer, but it's the realistic answer of why they're doing what they do. They're not going to give much attention to this because they don't want to harm relations with Turkey, obviously. That affects their economy and ours, and diplomatic relations. So unfortunately, that is the way it is. It comes down to, like I said, money and who the big guy is. If you're the little guy, no one's going to put much weight in what you have to say when it comes down to world politics. Why would you damage your economic relations and your diplomatic relations when you've set them up for years? And this is global politics. This is they want to keep Turkey there to prop them against Iran and Russia and all the other friends that Iran has in the region. So yes, they are doing wrong. They know they're doing wrong, but they're going to try to take away or turn their heads or turn everyone's heads to what's going on so they don't look like the bad guy, because this is how the world works. It's unfortunate, but it is the way the world works.
Yeah. Maybe last questions. You have one question, and thereafter is your time.
Yes. First, I want to thank you about what you did for my people and my country. Have you been contacted by U.S. government or U.S. embassy or any official person from your government about your journey? And if yes, what was their opinion about your journey? Thank you.
Yeah, they got a hold of me. At first, they were going through everyone's things, trying to figure out more about YPG, because Homeland Security is the one that's in charge of looking after the Americans, but Homeland Security is not the one that does foreign relations, so we were just another group to them. But as the situation developed and time went on, people can go home and go back to Rojava as long as you're fighting. It's found that you're fighting for YPG, so there is no problem with it in America. If you're fighting for any other group, though, you will have an issue and you will not be able to return to Syria as a whole. But just because America itself is in Rojava, dropping ordnance or bombs, it's okay if their citizens are there as well fighting. Otherwise, they just joke with me.
Asking, was it difficult for your family to come to Rojava and fighting for Rojava? How was for your family? How was they feeling? And the second question, you had been in Rojava, members of YPG, around 9 months. How it will be in the future? And do you think it was one good job that you had been with YPG, and how it will be in the future?
At first, obviously, my family wasn't too supportive of me joining into the Syrian civil war before I left. So they thought I was just running off to get killed. But they didn't even know what Rojava was or who the Kurds were in Syria. They didn't even know there were Kurds in Syria. But after media got out, because I got wounded my second day there, then everything kind of came out into the open. And my mother and father learned about the organization that I was fighting with. And they came to accept what was going on and found out the reasons why I was actually fighting. So they've been very supportive ever since then. What was the second part of that question?
Second, you have been in Rojava 9 months, members of
Oh, what would
YPG.
I, Azam? If I come back, it won't be directly in a fighting, it's going to be with training. There's a lot of more things I can do than just be another trigger. I want to teach medical aid, and I want to bring logistics, like for Kalashnikovs, we don't have any close combat optics. I'd rather bring Picatinny rails and close combat optics and train people on how to use them and the effective fire ranges, because a lot of the more advanced military training a lot of our soldiers don't have. So I'd like to help in that aspect.
So you are going back to Kobani after this trip?
After a certain time period, when the time is right, I will most likely return.
Hvala me že prisi, tako to hati rožava, madbata tajniče, mafrivaj vi meselevu.
Try to keep Al-Raqqa as good as they can, or what do you think they're planning right now?
Right now, the attacks that are coming across the border is more of a harassment by the Turkish government to try to draw us into an open fight, because we know it, just like 4 days ago now, I think it's 4 days, they bombed Kendil after 2 years where we were working peace talks, and then out of nowhere they bombed basically the capital of the PKK, and before that they've been harassing Kurdish towns in Bakur. So it's basically, they want us to attack them so they can show to the international community that we're the bad guy. This is what they want to show to the world. We haven't done that, obviously. We haven't given repercussions because we know what their strategy is. So that's why the attacks, also in Grispi they attacked again, or Talabia, they attacked across the Turkish border. Is basically, they're going to do this for a while, trying to draw us in because they want a reason to go into Rojava or to go into Syria. They have to legitimize their reasons. So they have to get us to do something so they can show the rest of the world, hey, look what they're doing. They're attacking us. They won't say anything about the fact that they've let so many ISIS come over or they bombed us and killed some of our people, but they will bring to the light the fact that we attacked it back in retaliation. So a lot of it's political right now that's going on. Mostly what ISIS is doing, they're fighting Hasakeh right now. There's probably a good 1,000-some ISIS fighters around the Hasakeh region. They're attacking the regime right now because in front of YPG in southern Hasakeh is the regime. So most of the fighting is going on right now right there. So that's their strategic, what they're trying to do. They want to take Hasakeh so they can go north from that and cut off logistics coming over from Bashur's side. Angie apps, but other than that, it's usually just going there and learning from word of mouth, because dialects of Kermanji and Bashur and Rojava are different, just like English dialects are.
There's the official page of YPG.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, and he's so you can have some information. Yeah.
My organization is sending down people. We have people down there right now, so
I appreciate it.
we're always taking a caution about the situation.
I appreciate it. This is all going to boil down to the ethnic background and the culture in the region. There have been Israelis that have tried to make communication with YPG, but YPG doesn't really want to step on any toes, let's say, about all the different cultural backgrounds in Rojava and in Syria, so they just more or less ignore Israel or ignore anything that has to do with it. They don't want to get involved in that subject. It's a very sensitive subject. So as far as that goes, the YPG really doesn't have anything to do. ISIS is more or less trying to start things with Israel to show to the rest of the world that also follows their type of ideology, hey, we're the ones that are attacking the Zionists, join us, send us the money, we'll get it done. So this is more or less a recruitment tool by ISIS, basically launching rockets into Israel right now. As far as Turkey and NATO turning a blind eye, again, NATO, you have to look at the reason NATO exists. NATO is a North Atlantic Treaty Organization. They exist as basically an anti-Russian force created back during the age of the USSR. Turkey was on the Russian border, and they had a common enemy at the time, or a common political enemy. So that's why they brought them in. They also have a large army, so there's a reason to have them, especially with Iran and Syria being allies to Russia. So at the end of the day, even though they've done a lot of human rights violations, the rest of the member nations of NATO are looking at the bigger strategic picture. So it's wrong. It's wrong what they're letting one of their members get away with, but they're going to because it's the bigger strategic picture in the region. So they're technically a parliament, but hopefully the HDP can start changing things in that region. But only time will tell. Only thing we can really do is try to keep up shedding light on what is going on over there. There's nothing that the international government communities are really going to do. They want to keep their current alliances intact, but we can keep pressuring our governments to put pressure or sanctions on Turkey to change what they're doing and try to influence the citizens of Turkey to have a change in government.
Union of Kurdistan's party, sort of Kurdistan, yes. And he asking the help, the solidarity from the Kurdish government itself, how it's going to talk a little bit about before also, and how PUK's relation between YPG and PUK, you can tell us.
PUK works as almost the middleman for all Kurdish politics in Bashur. Because PYD doesn't get any representation legally in Bashur, they usually come because PUK is the one, or Guran are the ones that will work with them. So we get actually a lot of help from PUK. As far as solidarity goes, right now my countries, as it's been in the news, are blocking all weapon shipments to Kurdistan, which is horrible. Even the Arab nations are willing to send us weapons to both Rojava and Bashur, but America, Barack Obama and Cameron have blocked those weapon shipments because they want to stay in solidarity with Iraq. Obviously, time has shown that Iraq has thrown down their weapons twice, both in Mosul and Ramadi. The military can't be trusted, it's ineffective. Most of the fighting is done actually by the Shia militias that come in from Iran. Thus, Iraq weighs heavily on the Shia militia to get their job done for the Iraqi army. So they become more influenced by Iranian politics. This is another reason that Kurdistan wants to become their own nation, is because Iraq is not even politically under its own influence. It's so heavily influenced by other nations. Hopefully, after time's given, that we will take and make Kurdistan. They deserve their own land. This is what every one of the parties has been fighting for in Kurdistan. So right now it's going to come down to getting the logistics outside of Kurdistan and the economic trade partners and setting up everything that goes with to making a nation. There's a lot that goes into it, and the parties are working on that continuously and lobbying in different nations to recognize Kurdistan as a nation. So hopefully it happens, and PUK is most definitely one of the biggest reasons that will happen in that area, in Bashur.